So today I want to talk about books that have impacted my life or changed the way that I read or I write. The first one of these is a little bit of a throwaway, and I'm sure that everyone loves this book. It's F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby, and I think that this book is personally a little overrated at this point. I think I'm just sick of hearing about it. It was my favorite book, and I think that's probably because it was the first adult novel that I really loved. And I used to pretty much just read YA novels unless we had to for school, and when I read this in 11th grade, I really fell in love with it. And I think part of the reason was that I realized that not all books had to be plot-driven. This book is way more about the characters. Also, I loved the fact that I hated all of the characters in this book. So it was a little weird for me that I didn't have to, like everyone. And I thought that was really interesting at the time. 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher. This book has a lot of interesting things. The story is interesting itself. It's remarkably sad. And the structure is really cool in here. There's basically a weird kind of dual narration happening, but really it's only happening for one person, so it's interesting. I'm sure everyone has read this book because you couldn't not read it if you went to my high school and you liked to read. Like, everyone read this, so I really don't have to say anything about it. But this was the first book that really made me feel something. Like, I didn't just cry when I read this, I cried after I read this, I cried when I was trying to tell my mom what this book was about. And I think that if you love to read or you love to write, the first thing that you read that really makes you feel like that is always going to stick with you a little bit. I think that what reading teaches us is how to connect to people that we couldn't connect to without reading. We understand things that we haven't gone through because we've read them. We go through them in that way, and I think that's wonderful. So that's why this is on my list. This is another YA book, but I've actually read it very recently. All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. This is going to be a reoccurring theme with me, just like not being able to pronounce authors' last names. So this is a YA book, and I gave up on reading YA a couple of years ago. I just stopped reading them if they weren't super popular. If I wasn't already invested in a series or an author, I wasn't picking up YA that I'd never heard of before until this book. I saw this in the bookstore, and my friend had told me to get it previously, so I was like, alright, I'll do it. The reason this is on here is because this YA novel reaffirmed my faith that young adult fiction is not as shitty as I thought it had gotten to. This book is the realest depiction of depression and mental illness that I've seen in a really long time, especially in YA. I'm gonna say this book and It's Kind of a Funny Story are probably the only two books about depression that I've read, and I was like, wow, this is real. I think this is a book that every teen should have to read. It kind of changed me, and I can't even talk about how it did, because, I was going through a rough point when I read this, and I think that being able to look at characters and go, okay, I'm okay because this is okay, was good for me in a weird way. The next book is not actually a novel or a story. Grammar Girl's Quick and Dirty Tips for Better Writing. If you are even a little bit confused on grammar or punctuation, literally buy this book. I know there's a website and you could go on that for free, but this book was perfect. I took a publishing class, and to brush up on our grammar, he assigned us this book to read. I learned things that I didn't even know were grammatical mistakes, like things I've been doing and I just thought they were normal, and they aren't. So if you're ever writing a paper or you love to write, definitely pick this book up, because it will change your life. It will change your papers. You're gonna be reading people's stuff on Facebook, and you're gonna be like, Grammar Girls told me that's wrong. Grammar Girls told me that was wrong. Then you're gonna become that person that no one likes because you're commenting on people's Facebook statuses, and you're using asterisks and telling them what they did wrong. Or you could just be a normal person and not me. That works too. So the next book is pretty cool, but a little bit weird. It's A Monster Calls by Patrick. What was I saying? A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. Now, this book isn't on here because the plot is like anything special or the structure is anything special. Those things are good, but they're not why it's here. This book is illustrated. There are countless pages of just beautiful illustration. Absolutely gorgeous. For a really long time, I thought that if a book had illustration accompanying it, especially to the level that this one does, it wasn't a real book. And I thought the same thing about graphic novels. And I didn't understand why people liked them. Then I heard about this book here on YouTube, and people were going nuts over it. So I had to order it. And everyone was right. This book is absolutely beautiful, and it showed me that, you know, just because it has pictures doesn't mean it's for a younger audience. Now, they made this book without the illustrations, and I think it takes something really vital away from the book. Not to mention I cried endlessly while reading this. Me crying is also probably going to be a theme on this channel. And last but not least, a book that really changed the course of my life, House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. I'm gonna start off by saying that this is my all-time favorite novel. But let me give you a little bit of backstory. Once upon a time, I was an English education major, and I was going to a community college after high school. I was taking an English 101 class, and because it was in a community college, not many of the professors were really enthusiastic about teaching. The issue was that that English 101 course was so tedious and so tiring to me because any creativity I even remotely showed, my professor would tell me to stop doing. At the end of the class, I felt that anything that was English or literature related followed some crazy pattern. And any creativity that I thought it put out, I didn't feel it there anymore. I stopped reading for a really long time, and I completely changed my major. I just didn't feel passionate about what I was doing. And then I read this, and a lot of things changed. What I will say is that structurally and conceptually, this book has to be the most creative piece of work I've ever read in my life. From the way it's narrated, two narrators narrating dually, to the way that it's laid out on the page, to the story within a story within a story. This book completely reignited my passion in literature. And this book let me know that there were still unique ways of doing things. But this book helped me become the person that I am now in this really weird way. And it's just fucking awesome. So yeah, those are the books that, you know, changed my life and stuff. So as usual, I'm going to post my book blog Little Things down in the description below, so you can click through that and see these videos as well as a lot of pictures of books and maybe a couple of posts that I've written about books. If you like this, like and subscribe! If you didn't, see you guys later.